because we do have a very special guest joining us now on Drive. A very warm welcome to the principal of Red Bull Racing. Christian Horner is with us live on talkSPORT. How are you doing, Christian?
Hi, Christian.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, good to be with you.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us as well. And first of all, before we talk about anything else, it's congratulations. And you did say after the race that you're definitely going to celebrate it. So how hard did you celebrate it?
Well, you can probably hear by my voice that it was pretty... it was pretty up there, but that was mainly from, I think, the last lap. That was so intense. I think shouting at the television screen that last lap was cost me my voice. But we enjoyed the evening last night. We had, got together as a team. It's been a long and intense year. The drivers let their hair down a bit, and it was a fun evening.
Now you've had, dare I say, time to sleep on it, which you probably haven't had much of that. How do you reflect on what was clearly a controversial end to not only a race, but to the season?
Well, it wasn't controversial. I mean, I think I made the comment on the Sky commentary, we needed something from the racing gods, and then Nicholas Latifi turned up, and, he had a crash and needed a safety car. And it's always been discussed, in the team managers with the team principals about not wanting to finish races under a safety car. They would do their best to get the races up and running again. And so I actually think the race director, did a decent job with that. He did what he could. He put the two lead cars together. And then it was a straight shootout. And, we'd elected to make the pit stop. Mercedes is elected to maintain track position. And that's what I think it was a strategy that gave us the upper hand, for that final lap. So, finally this year, Max had a bit of luck. We've had misfortune at Silverstone and Budapest and Azerbaijan. But, yesterday we had an opportunity, we took it, and Max converted it, in the most brilliant way.
Christian, there's going to be, obviously it's divisive, and you're saying one thing, Mercedes will say another thing. We've had callers saying it just didn't feel right. I've said on air something didn't feel right. I'm no F1 expert, but it just didn't feel right. I look at the drivers' reaction, other drivers, Lando Norris saying, I'm a bit surprised, a one-lap shootout. Charles Leclerc saying it was a bit weird. Daniel Ricciardo saying, I'm honestly a bit speechless. And Carlos Sainz saying it was certainly a strange situation. They can't all be wrong. They didn't feel it was quite right. I'm not sure they've got the answer to to the solution, to find out what the solution was, but they all didn't feel it was quite right. So can you see where they're coming from?
I mean, I can't remember the last situation that's happened like this, but it certainly has in Formula 2. It has in other formulas. And this goes back to a mantra that Niki Lauda pushed, when he was the chairman of Mercedes F1 team, of let the drivers race. We want to see them race. We don't want to finish races under a safety car. The track was safe. The marshals were in. And to leave that safety car out would have, denied the public, I think, of a grandstand last lap. If we'd have not changed tyres, we wouldn't have had the advantage. It was that strategy that gave us the advantage that Mercedes, elected not to do. But we're delighted with the result. Obviously, there's a bit of contention afterwards, but you can't look at it in isolation. You've got to look at the season on a whole. And as I said earlier, we felt decisions went against us at Silverstone, in Hungary, in Azerbaijan. 3 instances. We felt that some of the decisions went against us in Saudi Arabia. And indeed, in Doha. So, these things tend to even themselves out over a year. And I'm just grateful that they got the race going again. I think it was the right call, and it was a strategy that put us in a position to win it. If we'd have stayed on the old tyres, we'd have finished second.
Christian, what would you say, though, to somebody that's brand new to F1 that got sucked in by all the hype, which was clearly an incredible season between two incredible drivers and two incredible teams, but they've been, they're all in on this last race, and then that happens, and they're struggling to comprehend why it's happened, why the gap's gone from 12 seconds to nothing, why certain cars are allowed to go past the safety car and others aren't. What would you say to these, what could have been brand new fans to F1 regarding then going forward in terms of the rules?
But we have lots of rules in Formula One, and they are the rules. There was a big crash. Latifi, crashed. There was a lot of carbon on the track. And indeed, Mercedes was calling for the safety car at that point, don't forget. So the safety car was rightly deployed. The marshals are cleaning the circuit. They got the car tidied away. And then the procedure is to allow cars to unlap themselves. And, it's up to the race director how he wants to conduct that. He's the referee. He's in control. And, he elected that he wanted the cars between the two leaders to unlap themselves as they do, as is standard practice. And, that's what happened. And, obviously you've got to feel for Lewis because he did a great job yesterday. He was in the quicker car. And, through using that opportunity with a safety car, but with the strategy to take the new tyres, that's what gave us the upper hand. As I say, if we had stayed on the old tyres, we'd have finished behind him. He would have had the upper hand. But it was that strategy that gave us the upper hand.
You talk about, we had the spectacle of a grandstand last lap, and we had that overtake as well from your man, which, it was exhilarating. You're absolutely right with that. Whether it's fair or not is another matter, but it was exhilarating. Had it been the other way round, though, you'd have been raging, wouldn't you?
Well, what would you have been saying? Would your argument be any different if it was the other way around? I mean, obviously it's a tough one. It is a tough one. I mean, I'm sure that we would have been arguing for the safety car to stay out, that debris that needs cleaning up. But the track was clean and it was open to go. I think if we'd have been in the lead with the lead that Lewis had, bearing in mind you'd only taken one stop, we would have pitted. We would have put a new set of tyres on for the restart. And, it was a tactical error. That Mercedes didn't do that. But, that was their choice. That was a decision in the heat of the moment that they made. We elected to take the tyres with both our cars. Unfortunately, we had to then retire Perez because he had an engine issue. But, some teams did and they benefited. Some teams didn't.
Christian, where do you think this ranks in terms of the greatest seasons of all time, and also Max himself? Because I think it would be very, very unfair for people just to say, well, he doesn't deserve it, because throughout the season, certainly the races I've watched, he has raced incredibly. So where do they, both him and the season themselves, where do they rank?
Well, I think that starting with Max, I think he's been outstanding. I mean, he's led more laps than any other driver. He had 10 pole positions, 10 victories. He's had more podiums than any other driver. He's had his share of bad luck. There were incidents that weren't down to him, that the stewards ruled him. That they were either Bottas or Hamilton's issue at Budapest and Silverstone. We had the car blowout in Azerbaijan, but he's kept his head. He's driven his heart out. He's driven with passion, with determination, with great commitment, and he's gone up against as a 23-year-old lad, up against a 7-time world champion that's at the top of his game. And I think both drivers have been stunning. They've been exceptional this year. They've been a step ahead of the rest of the field. And we've seen some epic battles throughout the season from the first race. It's been, a vintage year for Formula One, and it's been exciting to be part of. And, it's been a long and intense year.
I always say, in fact, this season, as the fight has gone on and the battle between the two on and off track it has been sensational, Christian. There's no doubt about that. And then coming into the last race, I was saying, may the best driver win. And in many ways, you could listen. Max Verstappen, you cannot argue. He has finished top of the lot. Therefore, he is the best driver. You can substantiate that. But both of them have created this incredible end of season, well, incredibly long season, but incredible season between the two of them, and both deserve a lot of credit. You're putting it into context there with Max's age. What can he go on to achieve, do you think?
Look, I mean, I think, that first championship is always a milestone. It was for Sebastian Vettel, I think, indeed Lewis and others, because it just gives the drivers that confidence. They've got it off their back now, and I think they will release him. I think he'll go on. I think he's still developing as a driver. He's still growing in experience. I think, there's exciting years ahead for Max. And I think, Lewis is still at the top of his game. And I think the two of them, what we've witnessed this year, has been exceptional. The wheel-to-wheel racing across the 22 races has been. I think they finished first and second 13 times between the two of them at those races, or 13 or 14 times. So there's been nothing to choose between them, and certain circuits have favoured different cars in the early part of the season, but Mercedes have, they got a run together, at the end there with Brazil and Doha, and then Saudi Arabia, and Max was having to dig deep to hang in there, and he did, and that's what's won in this championship.
I hope that Verstappen bought Perez a little drink, by the way, because the few laps that Perez was in front of Hamilton, I thought was just fantastic and great to watch and listen to. The way that he spoke as well, sort of after that little altercation that he had with Hamilton. And also, is it about, maybe as rookie fans, to delve a little deeper into the team behind the drivers, and that it's very much more than just the drivers themselves?
Absolutely. And look, Formula One is the biggest team sport in the world. The top teams have got probably circa 800 people in them to build these two unbelievable cars, and there's probably about 100 people at the circuit each weekend to operate them. And what Sergio did, not just yesterday but on Saturday, to give his teammate a toe to get that pole position, because we just don't have the straight line speed compared to the Mercedes cars. He sacrificed his lap to help his teammate, and doing the best he could for the team. And then in the race, we discussed before the race various scenarios, and this was one of the scenarios that we said, look, you're going to have to hold Lewis up. It was tactical play. It was a matter of allowing Max to close back up. And indeed, if he hadn't have done that, then Lewis would have had a very, very clear free stop at the end of the race. So Checo was instrumental in helping Max win that championship yesterday.
I mentioned earlier on the show, Christian, before you came on, that Lewis Hamilton did an interview afterwards where he was full of praise for Max. He seemed very dignified. I'm not sure how he was away from the microphones and the cameras, whether he had any interactions with him as well. But I thought that was it was a very dignified end. It could have got really ugly, between maybe the two of them or from Mercedes' side. But I thought it was a really dignified way to close the season off and really give Max Verstappen the respect he deserved.
Absolutely. I mean, Lewis was outstanding. He obviously gutted to have lost that yesterday, but he was very good with Max. I spoke to him, before going onto the podium, and he was very sportsmanlike about the whole thing, and there was no bitterness, there was no allegations being thrown, and I thought he took it on the chin and was very sporting about it, as with his father. And I think it was just a shame later on that we found ourselves in the steward room with a QC that happened to be at the track on behalf of Mercedes. But that was disappointing that Mercedes chose to go that route. But that was their choice.
What it has done is it probably has set up next season, hasn't it, in terms of Lewis will want to come back and prove that he was wronged and get that 8th title, and Max will obviously want to show that he's the new kid on the block and want to dominate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, wow. I mean, what a season we've had. I think that's been the best year of Formula One racing I can remember. And we've got, these two titans going at it, and then you've got some great other, youngsters coming in there. You've got the whole George Russell factor. How's that going to play out, next year? You've got Lando doing a great job. You've got Checo doing a stunning job for us as well. And, Leclerc, Carlos Sainz. I mean, Formula One is in really rude health. It's, and a complete clean sheet of paper next year. So there's no guarantees that Mercedes or Red Bull are going to be the top teams next year. We've got a budget cap. Everybody's got the same money. And, there could be some surprises. So I think it's going to be a fascinating 2023 season or 2022 season. But, obviously, I'm just allowing ourselves to finish this one first.
And Christian, you mentioned the celebrations, and you also talked about barking instructions. And I'm listening to your voice, and all I've got in my head is Christian Horner at the celebrations, having a few sherbets on the karaoke, belting out Spice Girls numbers. Is that how it was last night till late?
I'm not sure there was that many Spice Girl numbers, but Jerry was there as well, and there's a Max song. I don't know whether you heard it. That seemed to get played again and again and again. Super Max. So, but look, it was a great evening, and look, there's a lot of things you can mix with Red Bull, and there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that going on, and it was great to see. Yeah, it's been a tough year for the mechanics. All the boys that travel the world and the girls that have done an amazing job this year, away from their families for long periods of time. The triple headers that we've done. And they're exhausted. They're shattered after the year that they've had. And again, they smashed in the best pit stops of the day. Yesterday, I think we had 9 of the 10 fastest pit stops this year. And so to see them all let their hair down, with the drivers, that was great. It was very, very special. But they run out of steam pretty quickly.
I'm sure they were exhausted. Christian, it's great having you on. Really appreciate your time and congratulations again.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks a lot.